Hey Gwent fans, KBT here. We've done about 10 real Gwent matches now. They seem to be quite popular. We did stop for quite a while. I'm hoping to get more into them. We never did many with Hearts of Stone, but we're starting to do that now. I think number 10 might have had Hearts of Stone cards being played. We definitely had some in the deck, but whether we drew any, I'm not entirely sure. Number 11 will definitely have some. So thanks for watching that. That's really good of you though. I mean, we're closer to Blood and Wine expansion coming out. I think it's probably going to be a couple more months than we are to Hearts of Stone. That came out quite a while ago. But I want to talk about mainly a card which came out in Hearts of Stone that is totally unique and unlike any other card. You can have a think about what that card might be. One thing I do want to say about the past Gwent matches, we always try and emulate the game as close as possible. We did make one huge mistake. There's little niggly mistakes every now and then, but one huge mistake we made was bonded ability. We did it as multiplicative. We multiplied the numbers rather than added the numbers. So a Blue Strikes commander was 4 doubled to 8, 8 doubled to 16, which is not how it is. Even though it says times 2 when you place them down in the actual game, it's actually additive, which means you should go 4, add 4 to 8, add 4 to 12. It's only a strength of 4 difference there, but when you add a Commander's Horn, it goes from, what is it, 16 doubled to 32, and then, or even 12 doubled to 24. So that's a lot of strength. That's another 12 strength on each one, because there's 3 of them. So it becomes a big deal, but apparently it's additive, and we'll do that in the future. So the card is the Cow. Now, I don't know if you actually like the card. I think it's an amazing card. I want to see more of them in the Blood and Wine expansion. More of those types of cards, I mean. The Cow is obviously in Witcher 3. That's not important. There's loads of cows in Witcher 3. The Bovine Defense Force was placed into the Witcher 3 game as a joke, I think. To stop people farming cows for hide, I think it was. To keep the economy normal in single player. So it's put into the game as a joke. Now I think the joke kind of caught on and they put it into Gwent as a joke. Now the thing is, the Cow card is totally unique and adds something to the game that it didn't have before. There's a positive and there's a negative to this. Okay, but I want to see more of it because I think the positive clearly outweighs the negative. So the positive is, the Cow card allows you to play a card, which is the Cow, 0 strength melee, that does nothing for this turn. And then the next turn, if it's on the board, you get a Bovine Defense Force, which is 8 strength melee. So, basically, you're playing a card on one turn to get strength for another turn, which is an amazing, amazing card, right? So, some turns in Gwent, you know you're gonna pass, okay? You want the opponent to waste a couple of cards, so you're gonna pass. This way, you can place some cards and get them to use even more cards before you pass, which is just so good, you know. It's just such a tough strategy, really good strategy. So let's say the opponent places a card, 4 or 5 strength, something like that, and then you place a Cow, right? They're thinking, okay, he's got 0 strength on the board. What's he going to do? He's either going to place another card because he either has to win or wants to win, or he's going to pass. If he passes, because you've got no strength, you can analyze your cards and beat him. It's just such a tough strategy. It's really good card. Because say if you win the first round, you know you're going to pass the second one. You can use the Cow card to get strength for the third one, which is where you want to win. Oh, it's just so good. I thought of some other cards which could utilize this ability. We'll go over to that soon. But for now, let's talk about the negative the Cow card provides. Now, the Bovine Defense Force card in The Witcher 3, which is what we try and emulate, is not a card that you can actively place into your deck. You just get the card when the Cow is placed and gets put on the next round. So what this creates is an issue much like Hearthstone, especially why Hearthstone is not a good physical card game to play. Like I couldn't print out the Hearthstone cards and play that because there's so many cards that just get created out of nowhere. Just like Hogger, for example, he summons some 2/2 armored creature of some kind, that it doesn't actually exist in the game. There's tons of cards in Hearthstone that do that. But you need a massive card pool in Hearthstone to play it physically, of random cards that just get created when you do stuff. So for example, Bovine Defense Force, you need a card pool of Bovine Defense Forces that you can pull out. Now, I know you're saying, well, you just need one because you've got one cow card, and that's the maximum you can get. Well, what if the cow goes into the discard pile and then I medic it out, for instance? The next turn, the Bovine Defense Force goes in there and I need another one to place on the board. Because I might want to medic that Bovine Defense Force out, you know? What if I medic the cow out again, or I want to medic or decoy the Bovine Defense Force, and then the cow medic him out and he needs another one, and there's just loads and loads of areas where you would need more than one because of decoys, medics, these types of moves which would make you need more. Like monster ability, what if it keeps the cow on the board? You know, I'm going to need a Bovine Defense Force next turn as well. Okay, so that's the issue. You need a card pool of Bovine Defense Forces, which is something the game doesn't have yet. There's no extra card pool, apart from maybe like leader abilities and stuff. But, you know. So my friend Gareth thinks that I like to change the game a lot. I get really excited, I do. I agree with him. I get really excited saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have this ability, and that should be nerfed, and that should be buffed, and stuff. I'm always saying it in regard to Nilfgaard's leader ability in the videos. And I do. So here I have some mock-up cards which would utilise this ability that I'd like to see in Blood and Wine expansion. So the first thing you need to do is actually create an ability. The cow has this ability, but it doesn't actually have a visual ability of it. It doesn't have the symbol. So we need to create a symbol for that, and then it needs to have a set rule. The bond has a set rule that works across the entire game. When it's placed next to a card that has the same name, it gets not doubled, it gets the strength added onto it again. The muster ability, cards with the same name get brought back on. Now that's probably a bit vague because the cards don't have exactly the same name, but they're all vampires, they're all crones, etc. So what this card should have is, when this card is on the board at the end of the round, then it goes into the discard pile and brings out card X. Now the problem here is that each version of this card would have to bring out a card specific to it, because the cow brings out the Bovine Defense Force, which obviously is not another cow card. So the card I created, which I think suits it quite well, is a monster card called the Noonwraiths, which, if you played The Witcher 3, is a very common monster which wasn't really utilised in the Gwent matches, in the Gwent card game. And it works with their lore and stuff, their sort of reason for being. And basically what happens is, I created a 2-strength minion, which is generally quite weak, but when it's on the board at the end of the turn, it gets brought back. It brings back itself, okay? Or brings back another Noonwraith, whatever you prefer. I think itself is cleaner, because then you don't have to have a card pool of Noonwraiths. You just put itself back on the board. The reason I made them quite weak is because obviously if you play them on turn 1, then it comes out on turn 2, and it comes out on turn 3, and I made 3 of them. 3 seems to be the magic number with the amount of cards this game has. So you can get a total of 6 strength on turn 1, and 6 strength in turn 2, and 6 strength in turn 3. Obviously if you have some sort of spy and play these Noonwraiths quite late, say on turn 3, then you've wasted some of their effectiveness. Another strategy would be, do I actually put these into my deck? Because they're pretty crap strength. Obviously the strength could be tweaked, but would it be worth changing these cards out for muster abilities, or is it worth putting them early game and then trying to buff them up every turn? So I really like the idea of that ability, the cow that the cow introduced, and it would add an extra element of strategy for the opponent. Is, does he scorch these Noonwraiths like on turn 1 to get rid of them, or is the 6 strength that they're going to have going to be okay to deal with? You know, it is 3 cards, maybe 2 strength is a bit low, but I don't want to go into balancing. The whole idea is just give you an example of a way these cards could be used in an interesting way. Because I think some of the decks are a bit linear in the way. I think each deck should hopefully be able to be built like hopefully 2 ways, or inventive anyway. That's what I hope Blood and Wine will allow, extra inventiveness with some of the decks. So I think that's it. That's all I want to talk about. Let me know what you think about the whole idea, whether you like the cow card mechanic, whether you like the Noonwraiths idea, and I'll see you again next time. Some more Gwent. Thanks guys, and take care. I said fucking take care, you'd best do it.